Please do not stand on the seats or sit on the seat backs or railings. Feel free to move about the vessel, however, please walk, do not run on board. Please use extra caution on the stairs, which are located forward and aft. Please do not congregate on them, and please use the handrails. Smoking or vaping on this vessel is unlawful and is not permitted anywhere on board. Flash photography at or near the pilot house is prohibited. Please keep your hands and arms inside the vessel at all times. Interfering with the safe operation of this vessel is illegal and subject to a civil penalty. If you have questions or need assistance, please contact a uniformed crew member. Once again, welcome aboard.
All right. Hello again, everyone. Welcome aboard. My name's Bobby. I'll be your tour guide for our 90-minute river architecture tour. Now, as we begin, I do want everyone's attention for at least 30 seconds. Everyone. Okay. I'm going to repeat 3 things from that safety recording. Number 1, do not stand on chairs or benches. That goes for children and adults. No one of any age should stand on a seat or a bench at any time. Do not sit or climb on the railings around the boat, and no smoking or vaping anything anywhere on the boat. That being said, you're welcome to walk around. The restrooms and the bar are downstairs. You can head down there whenever you'd like. Now, as we begin, let me begin by telling you that I think that you made a great choice coming with us today. Chicago is a great place to learn about. We might not be the biggest or oldest city you can find, but we do offer something special. We are renowned in Chicago for having a dense variety of styles of architecture in a small area. We'll talk about a lot of architecture and a little Chicago history as we make our way along the Chicago River this afternoon. Well, nope, it's the morning. This entire tour will be in the morning. Anyway, there's our first pop quiz, folks. What's the name of the river we're floating on?
Chicago River.
The Chicago River, not a trick question. This is the Chicago River. Nice and easy to remember where we'll be for our 90 minutes together. Now, we'll talk about the Trump Tower later, but for now, let's look behind it. Up to the right is that dark steel rectangular building. The dark steel building up to the right is AMA Plaza, headquarters of the American Medical Association. It's from 1973 by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Now, Mies van der Rohe was a pioneer of this style. Dark steel, minimal ornamentation, rectangular patterns. We call that international style. You see, Mies van der Rohe started out in the 1940s. He said that architects were focusing too much on making the outsides of buildings fancy and not focusing enough on making the insides useful. So Mies van der Rohe went all the way the other way, pioneering this dark steel rectangular style, all about showcasing how practical the interiors he was designing were. This building is from 1973. Ludwig Mies van der Rohe spent a lot of his career as a professor right here in Chicago at Illinois Tech, but not all of his students ended up liking rectangles nearly as much as he did. We don't have time to talk about this bridge, folks. It's undergoing some maintenance. We'll talk about drawbridges later on the tour. On the right side of the boat, these 2 circular towers were designed by one of Mies van der Rohe's students. The 2 circular towers on the right are called Marina City. It's from 1968 by Bertrand Goldberg. Goldberg was inspired by nature. He said there are no square shapes in nature. He wanted round, natural-looking shapes for people to live in. In addition, get a good look at these parking ramps, the circular open-air parking structures above us on Marina City. When Marina City went up in the 1960s, not very many people lived in the city center of Chicago. So in order to attract residents to move downtown, Goldberg filled Marina City with its own amenities. It had its own grocery store, movie theater, bowling alley, skating rink, marina on the river, and those parking ramps above. And having seen those parking ramps, you might have gotten nervous imagining cars falling off and into the river. But there's no need to worry, that's only happened twice. That's true. But I should also tell you the whole truth, which is that both times were filmed stunts. Once was for Steve McQueen's movie The Hunter, and the other was for an auto insurance commercial. Now, jumping ahead, folks, after the next bridge on the right is that red brick building. The brick building ahead to the right is the Reed Murdoch Center. It's 111 years old and is an example of Chicago school style architecture. Now, Chicago school style is defined by being an early example of using load-bearing internal steel. You see, the brick is just decorative. It is steel inside the walls that holds the building up. And that concept of using load-bearing internal steel, fundamental to modern architecture, was first developed here in Chicago, primarily by architect William LeBaron Jenney. The first skyscraper was a William Jenney building here in Chicago, finished in 1873. It was called the Home Insurance Building, and that first skyscraper was a whopping 10 stories tall. Now, unfortunately, the Home Insurance Building, world's first skyscraper, was torn down in 1930. But the reason it was the first skyscraper is not that it was the tallest building in the world, it never was, but that it was the first tall building to use internal load-bearing steel framing. Again, pioneered by William LeBaron Jenney. Now, the bridge in front of us, have an extra moment here. The bridge in front of us is going to be our first double-decker bridge we go under. The bottom level is automotive traffic. The top level is train traffic. In Chicago, we call our transit rail system the L, or at least the city officially does. L is short for elevated, because historically all, and these days most, of the tracks are built above street level, thus elevated. Now, after this bridge, we're going to look on the right. Pay attention here. I always try and point something out that's worth it, but tricky. So if you look immediately to the right and a bit above us, look closely here, you might notice there's actually a stone building. Yeah, I was just kidding. Extra large and in charge, that's the Merchandise Mart. The Merchandise Mart, up to the right, was the biggest building in the world by floor space in 1930, with 400,000 square meters or 4.2 million square feet of space. It is Art Deco style, vertical lines, geometric ornamentation, and stair-stepping up toward the roof with setbacks at the top. All that together, that's Art Deco style. The Merchandise Mart was designed by Graham Anderson Probst and White and paid for by Marshall Field's department stores to consolidate their warehouses into one giant warehouse downtown on the river. It's a mixed office building today, and up till 2008, the U.S. Postal Service gave the Merchandise Mart its own unique zip code or postal code. That was 60654. Some of you not from around here might not have ever heard of Marshall Fields. The old Marshall Fields flagship store is now the Macy's on State Street in downtown Chicago. So a Chicagoan would want me to tell you that the Macy's that inhabits that building is not the Marshall Fields of years ago. But the architecture's still there, and it still says Marshall Field on the walls. So that's a fun flagship department store to go to. Now, this section of the river here is where the three branches of the Chicago River meet. The main branch behind us. The north branch is ahead to the right, and the south branch is ahead to the left. This fork on the river is called Wolf Point. Now, the name Wolf Point is older than the city of Chicago. No one's quite sure where that name came from, but I've always suspected that someone probably saw a wolf at some point. Now, as we turn north, we're going to look on the left side of the boat. I'm not going to talk about the building behind the trains yet. We'll do that later. Ahead to the left is this round glass tower with an arch at the base. Ahead to the left, the glass tower with the arch at the base is River Point. It's by Picard and Chilton from 2017, and it's LEED Platinum certified. LEED Platinum, that's Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Two key factors in making it environmentally friendly is that it was constructed using a lot of recycled materials, and it uses river water to supplement its air conditioning. It brings water in, circulates it as coolant in the AC, and releases it back to the river cleaner than it found it. All right, now ahead to the left is a red brick building. The brick building ahead to the left is the oldest building on the tour. It's from 1898, 127 years old. Now, it was originally a cold storage warehouse back when the river was our port. Ships would come in from the lake and dock at warehouses like this to load and unload goods. It's a mixed office building today. No, it's not. It's mostly a residential building today. Now, it was adapted into the residences by architect Harry Weiss. Harry Weiss likes boats. boats. He put the starfish on the wall and the porthole windows near the top to give it some nautical theming when he adapted the building. It was adapted in the 1980s. The original brick here is from 1898. Now, ahead to the left is a Harry Weiss original, a row of 4 townhouses with sloping roofs. They have steel spiral stair towers and they have porthole windows like boats have. These are called the Chicago River Cottages, and they're from 1988 by Harry Weiss, a Harry Weiss original here. 4 townhomes in a row. There's one more boat thing about them I'll mention after we get past the next bridge. So after this bridge, if you look to the left and behind us above the bridge, the 2 sloping roofs of the river cottages are also meant to resemble the sails of sailboats racing each other. Now bouncing to the right, on the right side of the boat is this long building with long rows of windows. Here on the right, this is the East Bank Club. It's on the east bank of the river. It's from 1979. It's a high-end exclusive fitness facility. That means expensive gym. Being a high-end gym in Chicago, Barack and Michelle Obama, Rahm Emanuel, Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey have all had memberships in the EBC. The windows are not original. In the 70s, people were not generally interested in looking at the Chicago River. The river was dirtier and smellier, with weirder things than us floating around in it. But after the Federal Clean Water Act of 1972, we worked to clean up our waterways, and windows were added to let people enjoy the improved river view. Now these days, look on the left. People even like to live along the river, of course. On the left side of the boat is Kinsey Park, a gated community of 70 brick row homes. The homes that face the river here, all designed by Hames and Papa George, sell for around $2.5 million each. If the neighborhood sounds nice and you think you just spotted the cheapest option to live there, I'm sorry to tell you that green house by the bridge ahead to the left is not a residence. That's called a bridge house. It's owned by the city and it houses the controls to lift the drawbridge. We'll talk more about the drawbridges in Chicago later on the tour. So here's a bridge house on the left, and then there's another bridge house after the bridge on the right. I'm not very good on real estate questions, I'm afraid. I'll come up with something to tell you. Now on the right side of the boat, this red brick building with the dark metal balconies are called there's the Chicago River Lofts. There we go. Lots of things with river in the name. These are the Chicago River Lofts. Now, the original brickwork is from 1909. It was Wallace Printing Company, a commercial printing press. Now, it was adapted into residences in the 1980s, and that's when those balconies were added. The old commercial printer did not need balconies on every window like that. Now, adaptive reuse is what we call it when we change a building to an entirely different purpose from its original purpose. Adaptive reuse is all about taking something we have and turning it into something we need. In that case, what we needed was luxury condos. Now, up to the right, we're going to look at this glass tower with white steel beams pointing up the wall. Glass tower with white steel beams pointing up the wall in an arrow pattern. That's Erie on the Park. To the right of Erie on the Park is a glass tower with white balconies resembling scaffolding. That one's Kingsbury on the Park. They are sister residential towers by Lucien Lagrange, finished in 2002. Now, they were Chicago's first examples of European industrial style, which is defined as appearing incomplete or under construction, even though they are complete. Now, by the way, I've had multiple Europeans over the years. Specifically, I had some Italians were the first ones who told me that they thought that the reason that these were called European industrial style is because there's been sort of a tradition over the years in certain European countries that the owner of a building didn't have to start paying taxes on it till the building was finished, and so they'd sort of pretend that it wasn't quite finished for as long as they could before the authorities caught up to the scheme. Now, we're going to look directly to the right, because directly to the right is a little dark building, and then look beyond it. In the fluffy cloud-filled sky, far away, directly to the right, behind that little black building, you'll see 2 white antennas on a dark steel tower. Just a quick view. two antennas on a dark steel tower. Far away, directly to the right, that is the John Hancock Center. The Hancock Center is from 1969 by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. It's the fifth tallest building in Chicago. It has a nice even 100 stories, finished in 1969. Now, it was the tallest building in the city for 4 years, and it's often confused with our current tallest building in the city, but we'll talk about that one later. The top floor of the Hancock Center was the highest up permanent residence in the world for 40 years, from 1969 till 2009. Now, here on the right side of the boat, this light-colored building with more dark metal balconies that might make you think of adaptive reuse, for good reason. This was the old headquarters to Montgomery Ward Catalogs. Now, Montgomery Ward was a retail giant founded in Chicago in 1872 by Mr. Aaron Montgomery Ward. Around the year 1900, they were the largest retailer in the world by annual sales. During their most successful era, they did not own a single physical store. I know they did later, but at their real peak of success, they were only a catalog mail-order retailer. Now, this was their old warehouse. This was their old headquarters. It's from 1912. It's been adapted to residences, hence the balconies it has now. And after this bridge, I'm going to have you look behind us. If you look to the right and behind us, up behind the old headquarters, is you can just see the corner of that blue glass tower with the concrete corners. That was their Montgomery Ward's final headquarters, finished in 1971 until the company went out of business in 2001. That was their headquarters. Today, that's another residential building called the Montgomery. And then here on the right side of the boat, this huge building was the old main warehouse to Montgomery Ward. Also from 1912, also by Schmidt, Garden, and Martin. The old warehouse here is over a quarter-mile long with over 2 million square feet of floor space. It is, when Montgomery Ward went out of business in 2001, portions of the old warehouse here stood abandoned until 2004. When a new owner of the building determined to finally be able to lease out all of the space, adapted it extensively, and while remodeling it, they uncovered about 300 pairs of old roller skates tucked away in the corners of the building. Those skates were not gifts that never got shipped. Montgomery Ward was always innovating in how to most efficiently operate and encourage their employees to skate along their warehouse to fulfill their orders as quickly as possible. Now, I'll just mention, folks, that to the right and behind us, the river splits into two channels. Between the two channels is Goose Island, sort of an island in the middle of the river. Man-made island because the channel on the east is a man-made channel dug by our first mayor, William B. Ogden, because William B. Ogden owned a brick-making company, and he dug that channel for clay to make bricks with. So originally, the island was called Ogden Island. Eventually, a population of Irish immigrants with a lot of geese as livestock moved onto the island. The geese made a ruckus. It earned the name Goose Island. And if you've heard of Goose Island beer, they are a Chicago-founded brewery. They still make some beer here in Chicago, but now they're owned by that Belgian beverage company that owns everything. But anyway, Goose Island beer is named after Goose Island. They never brewed beer on the island. It just makes a good name for a brewery. Okay, now, as we head south, let's talk about some Chicago history. During our history lesson, I won't be pointing at specific buildings.